There's been a scoreboard associated with the TT virtually since its inception. It's moved around several times. Up to 1914, the scoreboard was located behind us down at St Ninian's Crossroads. That was the location of one of the earliest scoreboards. It moved to the present location about 1920, and the scoreboard that stood on this site since 1920 has varied. The one that we see today is not that same scoreboard that was there in 1920. It's gone through various incarnations. It's gone through various rebuilds. If you look at some of the 1920s photographs, there was actually a gantry that came out over the road, probably to enable the press box so that the reporters could see who was coming and going. The scoreboard as we know it today is a relatively recent incarnation. The permanent structure only dates from sort of 1980s as far as we can tell. Well, our plan is to preserve at least some of it in the forthcoming TT and Motorsport Gallery at the Manx Museum that's scheduled for 2022. Obviously with a structure this size it's not possible to preserve the whole thing, but we're hoping to preserve a significant section within the gallery.
Back in 2018 we instructed an independent report to be undertaken on the condition of the scoreboard, and the findings of that was quite serious. You know, the steel structure was pretty much corroded and just non-repairable. All the wood was rotten, so it was very, very difficult. So we have to look at different options going into the future. We then went out to consultation, and we're extremely grateful for everybody who responded to that consultation. And what actually happened, we found that around 74% of those responded wanted a like-for-like new scoreboard. We obviously can't repair this one. We have to think of providing a new scoreboard at some point in the future. So what we've actually done is we then spoke to other stakeholders, and one of the key stakeholders in that is the Scouts Association. When we spoke to them, they also wanted the feel and the look of the scoreboard to retain, but they also wanted more technology possibly to be added, and so we listened to that and we thought that deserved greater weight than some of the other responders we've done. So that's where we're heading. We're now going to be going into the consultation stage of trying to design a new scoreboard.
It's much bigger than people realise. It's not just the front of the scoreboard, it's behind the scoreboard as well, where we have messengers, the control tower we operate with the radios as well, and also the light box, turning the lights on when the riders get to Cronknamona and off when they get to the grandstand. We also have representations in the pit lane so that we can then radio across the information. So we have about 7 different radio frequencies operating the scoreboards totally. To prepare for the TT, it takes probably a couple of months beforehand.
So how important is it to you that it continues in some way?
Very important. It's traditional, and obviously the scoreboard has to be renewed. It's gone past its sell-by date and everybody realises that, but we're very much involved with the new scoreboard, or the proposed new scoreboard, and how it's going to operate in the future.
Obviously it will not be in place by 2021. We'll have to put some sort of temporary structure in just to get through that event. I think that the important thing is we've also got to factor in there is some major works to be done on this road, at Glencutchery Road. So we need to work with our partners within the Department of Infrastructure to make sure that when the scoreboard goes in, that's also factored in. So there's a lot of different equations that we need to think about when we're actually designing this, but also when we're installing it. We believe this current structure is from around the 1980s, but it's had almost every single part replaced at some point. But we've now got to the stage where we physically cannot repair the steel structure anymore, and we can't repair the wood. So we've got to dismantle that, and we're hoping that the first stage of that process will start towards the end of the month, and then we'll get the timing huts out as well later on. And so there will be a big gap, and it will, I suppose, when people are driving past, it'll look a bit strange. But we're hoping to get a new structure in place as soon as we possibly can.